You are listening to PastThink.com audiobook. Please like and subscribe, thank you. Chapter 16. Monk Luda has a fight at Mount Lianglong. The blue-faced brute tries to seize the Baozhu monastery. Just as Yangji was preparing to commit suicide by jumping down a steep place on the Huangni Ridge, he stood still and thought. When my parents gave birth to me, I was very good-looking. And when I was a youth I knew all the 18 forms of military exercises. I cannot ruin my future career by committing suicide, as it will be better to wait until the bandits have been arrested, and then I can explain matters. He then returned, and saw that his party of 14 men were still staring at him, but yet could not get up. He pointed at them with his ringer and cursed, saying, "You knaves would not listen to what I had said, and that was the cause of what followed, and you put me into this trouble." He then picked up his halberd that was lying at the foot of a tree, and put a sword at his belt. He looked all round but could see nothing else. He heaved a sigh, and went down the ridge. About 10 o'clock in the evening the 14 men were able to scramble to their feet, and then they expressed their sorrow. The steward Xia said to them, "You would not listen to Major Yangji's order, and therefore today I am in danger of my life." "Sir," said one of the men, "now that it is all finished let us discuss a plan." "What is your idea?" asked the steward Xia. "We are certainly to blame," said the man. "The ancients had a saying, when the fire is scorching our bodies we try to put it out, or when a wasp gets in our bosom we quickly unfasten our clothes. If Major Yangji were here now we could not say anything, but as he has now gone away why should we not return to Grand Secretary Liang, and lay all the blame for this on Yangji? We could say that on the way Yangji insulted us by continual curses, and beat us so bitterly that we could hardly walk. He was in league with some bandits, and gave us some drugged wine so that we became unconscious. When he bound our hands and feet he went off with the golden articles and jewels." The steward replied, "What you say is all right. At daybreak we will go to the local magistrate, and report the matter as you say. We can leave the 2 servants at the yamen to guide the officials here, and assist in arresting the bandits. The following night we can start for the northern capital where we can report the matter, and get a dispatch sent to the Prime Minister, so that he can give orders for the arrest of the bandits." The following morning steward Xia led the men to the local magistrate at Jizhou Prefecture to report the matter, but we need not go into the detail. As he left the Huangni Ridge Yangji was in a very melancholy spirit. He traveled during half the night in a southerly direction, and then lay down in a forest to rest. He asked himself, "I have no money to cover the traveling expenses, and I cannot meet anyone on this road whom I know, so what shall I do?" As soon as it was dawn he however took the advantage of the cool breeze and started. He felt quite miserable, after walking about 7 li. Upon coming to an inn he thought, "If I don't get some wine here I shall soon be unable to proceed any further." Entering the inn he sat down on a stool which was made of, as same as the table, the wood of the mulberry tree. He placed his halberd leaning against the stool by his side. In the kitchen he saw a woman who asked him, "Do you want to dine, sir?" "Bring me a small horn cup of wine," said Yangji. "Also boil a little rice for me, and serve it with some meat. When I have dined I will pay you." The woman called a youth who poured out the wine, and took it to Yangji. She duly prepared the rice and meat, and it was also brought in. When he had finished his meal he picked up his halberd, and was walking towards the door when the woman called out, "You have not yet paid me for the food and drink." "Place it to my account, and I will pay you when I come back," said Yangji. So saying he walked off. The youth who had served the wine ran after him, and took hold of his clothes, but Yangji knocked the youth down by a blow of his fist. The woman seeing this cried out for help. Yangji paid no attention to this, and went on his way. He heard a man behind him calling out, "Where are you going to?" Turning his head he saw that the man was only half dressed, and was running after him trailing a cudgel. He thought the man was unwise in attacking him as he could easily kill him. He stood still, awaiting the attack, and saw that the youth had got a pitchfork, and was also running towards him. There were also 3 farm laborers armed with cudgels who were also hastening forward. Yangji thought, "If I knock this first man down the others probably will not dare to come any further." So he held his halberd in front of him ready to strike the man. The man came up whirling his cudgel, and then both men fought for about 20 bouts, but the man did not overcome Yang Ji. He was only able to parry and dodge Yang Ji's blows. The youth and the farm laborers were on the point of rushing upon Yang Ji, when that half-dressed man suddenly sprang back clear of Yang Ji's halberd, and said, "No more fighting." "What is the name of this man with the halberd?" "Whether I am traveling or staying at home I do not change my name," said Yang Ji. "I am Yang Ji, the blue-faced brute." "Are you not the Yang Ji who looked after the emperor's pavilion at Eastern capital?" asked the man. "How do you know that I am that officer?" said Yang Ji. The man threw his cudgel away, saluted with folded hands, and said, "I did not recognize Mount Tai." Yang Ji raised him up and asked, "Who are you?" The man said, "I previously lived at Kaifeng. I was a pupil of Drill Inspector Lin Chong of the Imperial Guard. I am Chao Zheng, and my father and also my grandfather were butchers. I was very skilled in drawing the sinews, breaking the bones, and scraping the skins. And because of this people gave me the nickname Demon Carver. A wealthy man at Kaifeng gave me 5,000 strings of cash to trade with in Shandong, but I was unfortunate and lost all the money, so that I dare not go back. Instead I married the daughter of a farmer near here, and live in their home. The woman whom you saw in the kitchen is my wife, and the man with the pitchfork is my brother-in-law. I saw that your skill with the halberd was almost equal to that of my instructor Lin Chong, and that I had no chance of defeating you." "You say you were the pupil of drill instructor Lin Chong," said Yang Ji. "You will therefore know that Marshal Gao Qiu, the Marshal of the Imperial Guard, insulted the wife of Lin Chong, and that was why the latter became a brigand. He is now at Liangshan Marsh." "I have heard people say so," said Chao Zheng, "but I have no means of knowing whether it is true or not. Will you please come to my home and rest a while there?" The two men then went back to the inn, and Chao Zheng asked Yang Ji to be seated. He also asked his wife and his brother-in-law to salute Yang Ji. They then dined together. During the meal Chao Zheng asked Yang Ji what business had brought him to that place. Yang Ji told him all about the matter of losing the convoy of marble, and how he had now also lost all the birthday gifts of the Grand Secretary Liang. "In that case," said Chao Zheng, "I trust that you will stay at my house, and we can talk matters over." "It is very kind of you to make such an offer," said Yang Ji. "But I cannot stay here as I am afraid that the police will come to search and arrest me." "Then where are you thinking of seeking refuge?" asked Chao Zheng. "I am thinking of going to Liangshan Marsh to find drill instructor Lin Chong," said Yang Ji. "Sometime before when I was passing near Liangshan Marsh I had a fight with him, but Wang Luan saw that we were both experts at arms, and took us both up the hill to his stronghold where Lin Chong and I became friends. Wang Luan tried very hard to get me to stay at Liangshan Marsh, but I had no desire to become a bandit. Now, if I go to seek refuge there for fear of being branded as a criminal it would be too unmanly, so I have not yet decided whether to do that or not." "What you say is quite true," said Chao Zheng. "I have also heard that Wang Luan is jealous of other men, and that when drill instructor Lin Chong went there he suffered much at his hand. But would it not be better to go to the Baozhu Monastery on the Lianglong Mountain in Qingzhou, which is not far from here? The place is a natural stronghold, and there is only one road to it. Just now the abbot, and also a number of monks have given up their vows, and have allowed their hair to grow again. They say he has now about 400 or 500 men who loot in the surrounding villages. His name is Deng Long, and his nickname is Golden-Eyed Tiger. If you are thinking of becoming a bandit you had better go and join that gang, and enjoy your life." "As there is such a place," said Yang Ji, "why should I not go there, and capture it for the benefit of myself?" So he stayed with Chao Zheng for the night, and next morning set out for the Lianglong Mountain. Towards the evening of the following day he saw a high mountain in the distance, so he decided to rest for the night in the forest and proceed on his way the next day. Upon entering the forest to find a safe place to sleep he was surprised to see there at the foot of a pine tree a very fat monk who had stripped off all his clothes to enjoy the cool. He saw some tattoo marks on his bare back. When the monk saw Yangji, he jumped up, seized his monk's staff, and shouted out, "You prick! Where are you from?" Yangji recognized his voice, and thought that the monk came from the same village as himself. So he said, "Where are you from?" But instead of replying, the monk raised his staff to strike Yangji. "This bald-headed donkey is not polite," said Yangji. "I will revenge my wrong on him." So saying, he ran forward with his halberd towards the monk. The two men fought, maneuvering backwards and forwards, but after about 50 bouts neither of them had gained any advantage. The monk saw a fault on his opponent's part, so he jumped aside clear of his halberd, and shouted out, "Let us have a rest." Yangji appreciated the monk's skill very much, and asked himself, "Where does this monk come from? He is certainly very skillful with his staff, and we are just well matched." "Who are you?" asked the monk, with such a blue face. "I am Yangji, who looked after the emperor's hall at the eastern capital," replied Yangji. "Are you the man who tried to sell a sword at the eastern capital, and killed a man named Nyo-er?" asked the monk. "Do you not see the brand on my face?" asked Yangji. "So now we meet here for the first time," said the monk laughingly. "May I venture to ask who you are?" said Yangji, "and how did you know that I once wanted to sell a sword?" "I am no other," said the monk, "than Major Luda, of the headquarters of old General Zhong at Yan'an Prefecture. Because I killed a man nicknamed the Bully of the Western Pass, I sought refuge at Mount Wutai, where I became a monk. I have a tattoo on my back, and therefore people call me the Tattooed Monk." Yangji laughed and said, "We are evidently from the same village. I have heard of your fame everywhere. I did hear also that you were a monk at the great Xianghua Monastery, so what are you doing here?" Luda said, "That would entail a long explanation. While I was in charge of the vegetable garden of the great Xianghua Monastery, I met Lin Chong, Leopard's Head, whose life was in danger through the hatred of the Marshal Gao Qiu of the Imperial Guards. I saw his danger on the way to Cangzhou, so I rescued him. The two constables who were escorting Lin Chong returned and reported to Gao Qiu that I had rescued Lin Chong from them in the Yezhu forest, and then escorted him to Cangzhou so that they had no opportunity of killing him as Gao Qiu ordered. That bastard was so angry that he wanted to kill me. He informed the abbot at the monastery that he must not allow me to stay there. He also sent men to arrest me, but some ruffians came and informed me of that fact, so I could escape being arrested. So to give them a wrong impression, I burned down the hut where I lived at the vegetable garden, and then ran away, but in whatever direction I went I never felt safe. I arrived at last at Shizipo in Mengzhou, where I was almost killed by a woman of an inn who gave me some drugged wine so that I became unconscious. But her husband just then arriving was very much surprised at seeing my heavy monk's staff and knife, and he therefore gave me another drug which quickly brought me to my senses again. After he had ascertained my name, he asked me to stay there a few days, and adopted me as his brother. The man and his wife were well known to the bandits as Market Gardener Zhang Qing, and his wife, Sun Er Nyang, nicknamed Night Witch. They are very generous. After staying there for 4 days, I heard that the Baozhu Monastery on the Lianglong Mountain was a safe place to establish oneself, so I decided to go there and join the bandits under Deng Long. But that man was unwilling to let me join them on the mountain, and attacked me before I got there, but as he failed to defeat me, he retreated to the stronghold, and barred the 3 doors against me. As there was only one way up the mountain, and they would not come out again to fight with me in spite of my cursing them, and as I had no other prospect, I came to this forest, and did not expect to meet you here." Yangji was much pleased at hearing this, and after saluting each other the two men sat down on the ground. Then Yangji gave his new friend all the details of selling of the sword which resulted in the death of Nyo-er, also how he had lost all the birthday presents from Grand Secretary Liang, and how Chaoxing had advised him to come to that place. He then asked, "As the bandits at the Lianglong Mountain have barred the gates in the defile, how would it be if we had a ruse to bring them here? Let us go to Chaoxing's home and discuss the matter there." They immediately left the forest, and soon reached Chaoxing's inn. Yangji duly introduced Luda, and Chaoxing quickly brought them wine and food. They then discussed the position at the Lianglong Mountain, and Chaoxing said, "As they have definitely barred the gates, not only you two, but even 10,000 cavalry could not get to the top of the mountain. As it would be useless to use force to get them to open the gates, we must think of some other plan. Luda said, "That prick. When I went there he met me outside the gate, and as he did not allow me to stay there we fought, and I gave Deng Long a kick in the crotch, and knocked him down. But a great many of his men rescued him, and retreated up the stronghold barring those beastly gates. I cursed them, but they would not come outside again to resume the fighting." "Since it is a delectable place," said Yang Ji, "how can we afford not to attack by strategy?" "We cannot get there," said Luda, "and that makes his position intact." "I have a plan," said Chao Zheng, "but I do not know whether you two gentlemen would approve of it." "Let us hear your plan," said Yang Ji. "You cannot do in those clothes," said Chao Zheng, "and you will have to dress in the same clothes as our farm laborers. I will take the monk's staff and broadsword, and go with my brother-in-law, and a number of other men to the mountain. We take Luda with us as a prisoner, bound with ropes, but tied in such a way that I can release him with a single pull on the rope. Upon arriving there I shout out, 'I am an innkeeper at a village near here. This monk came to my inn, and drank so much wine that he became drunk. He would not pay me, but instead said that he was going to take some men to fight you in your mountain stronghold. Upon hearing this I had him bound while he was still drunk, and have brought him here to present to the bandit chief. Upon hearing this Deng Long will at once allow us to go up the mountain. Upon arriving at the stronghold, and meeting Deng Long I will pull the rope, and release Luda, and hand him his monk's staff. Then you two can rush forward, and Deng Long will not be able to run away. If we succeed in killing Deng Long his followers will submit to us without any further trouble. What do you think of that scheme?" Luda and Yangji both said that the scheme was excellent. That evening all the men dined, and prepared the food to take with them the next day. The following morning they were up at 5 o'clock, and ate a hearty breakfast. Luda's things were packed up, and stored away. Luda, Yangji, Chao Zheng and his brother-in-law, and about 7 farm laborers departed on the road to the Lianglong mountain. In the afternoon they stopped in a forest, and stripped the clothes off Luda, then bound him with ropes, and handed him over to 2 laborers to lead him. Yangji wore a straw hat, a cloth shirt, and carried a halberd in his hand. Chao Zheng carried the monk's staff. The other men had cudgels, and they formed an escort round Luda both in front and behind. Upon coming in view of the gates at the foot of the defile they noticed crossbows, bows, bottles of lime powder, and supplies of stone balls were stacked ready for defense. As soon as the brigands on guard at the gate saw that the monk had arrived as a prisoner they flew up the mountain to report the matter. In a short time 2 junior minions came to the gate, and asked, "Where do you come from, and what do you come here for? Why have you brought that monk here?" Chao Zheng replied, "We come from a small village in the vicinity of this mountain, and I have an inn at that place. This fat monk often came to my inn to drink wine. One time he got drunk, and would not pay for the wine. He said that he would go to Liangshan Marsh, and get many hundreds of men to come here with him to attack your stronghold. He would also lay waste all the villages about here. So we made him still more drunk by giving him plenty of wine, and then tied him up with ropes to bring him here as a prisoner for your chief. We think this would prove our submission to you, and so save us from calamity in the future." When the 2 junior minions heard this they were extremely happy, and said, "Good. But just wait a minute here." They then went up the mountain, and reported to Deng Long that the fat monk had been captured, and brought there as a prisoner. Deng Long was also pleased at this, and told them to bring the monk there. So he could have his heart and eat it with wine, and his feeling of resentment would thus be appeased. The brigands hearing these orders opened the gates, and told the men outside to enter. Yang Ji and Chao Zheng closely guarding Luda advanced up the mountain, and as they passed up the narrow defile, and through the barriers they realized how impregnable the place was. The monastery itself was encircled by high mountains, and the peaks were unscalable. The narrow road led to the final barriers in front of the monastery. There were 3 stout barriers, and neatly arranged logs of wood for rolling down on the road, huge stones for discharging upon the enemy, crossbows, ordinary bows, and darts made of bamboo. After passing the 3 barriers they came to the Baoju monastery, which had 3 large doors. In front was an open space as flat and smooth as a mirror, and around it were railings. Standing near the gate in front of the monastery were 7 or 8 brigands who, upon seeing that Luda was bound, pointed at him with their fingers and cursed him. "You bald-headed donkey assaulted our chief, and have now been arrested. You shall soon be chopped into small pieces." Luda did not reply to this. Upon entering the monastery they saw that there was no idol of Buddha, but in the center of the hall there was a large chair covered with a tiger's skin. Many bandits there had spears and cudgels and stood in ranks on both sides. In a little time Deng Long entered assisted by 2 bandits, and took his seat on the chair. Chao Jing and Yang Ji were close to Luda, and led him to the steps below the chair. "You bald-headed donkey," said Deng Long, "a few days ago you kicked me in the crotch, and it is still swollen and black and blue. Today you see me face to face." Luda opened his eyes wide and staring shouted, "You prick! You need not go." 2 laborers seized the rope, and pulling it released Luda, who taking the monk's staff from Chao Jing whirled it round. Yang Ji threw off his straw hat, and seized his halberd. Chao Jing whirled his cudgel, and his laborers all came forward with their cudgels. Deng Long was endeavoring to escape when Luda struck him with his staff, and split his skull into 2 parts, and the same blow shattered the chair. Yang Ji had attacked about 5 of the bandits with his sword when Chao Jing called out, "All of you must surrender. Otherwise we shall wipe you all out." The 500 bandits outside the monastery were so surprised at what had happened that they immediately surrendered. They then ordered the bandits to take the body of Deng Long and burn it on the mountain at the back of the monastery. Yang Ji and Luda then went to the granary and took stock of the grain there, put other rooms in order, and took particulars of the things that were stored behind the temple. They then took food and wine for them to eat in the temple. As Luda and Yang Ji were now masters of the stronghold, they had a big feast with plenty of wine. All the bandits were submitted to the changed position of affairs and still controlled by their officers. Chao Jing bid adieu to Yang Ji and Luda and returned to his homestead, but we need not say anything more about him. The men who had formed the escort for the birthday presents, and also Xia, the steward, went on their way to the northern capital, and upon arrival there they went to the yamen of Grand Secretary Liang, and there prostrating themselves asked to be excused for their crime. Grand Secretary Liang said, "I appreciate fully the difficulties you must have had on the road. But where is Yang Ji?" "That we dare not say," said the men. "That man is a bold, ungrateful thief." When we had gone about 7 days from here, we reached the Huangni Ridge where we rested in the shade of some pine trees, as it was a very hot day. We did not know that Yang Ji had an understanding with a band of 7 thieves. They pretended to be traders of dates, and were pushing 7 small jiangzhou, made handcarts. They had apparently arranged to meet us at that place, and were waiting for us there. Yang Ji had also arranged for a man to carry some wine to arrive there at the same time. Without thinking we bought the wine, but it had been drugged so that we were soon insensible, and were all bound up with ropes. Yang Ji joined with the 7 bandits in loading the birthday presents on the small carts, and then went off with them. We reported the matter to the magistrate at Jizhou Prefecture, where we left 2 of our servants to assist in arresting the bandits. We have traveled both day and night to reach here, and report this to your honor. Upon hearing this, Liang was very much surprised and cursed, saying, "That banished thief. He was a convicted criminal. I promoted him, gave him a position, and now I find that he has forgotten all my generosity. If I can only catch him I will kill him, and cut him up into 10,000 small pieces." He then dictated a dispatch to his secretary, and sent a man with it to Jizhou Prefecture with instructions to travel day and night until delivered. He also wrote a personal letter to Prime Minister Kai at the eastern capital, explaining what had happened. We need not say anything about the dispatch sent to Jizhou Prefecture, but we will now follow the personal letter for the Prime Minister. When Prime Minister Kai received the letter and read it, he was very much surprised and said, "These bandits are quite fearless. Last year they seized presents from my son-in-law, and so far they have not been arrested. This year the same thing has happened again, so what will be the end of it? He wrote a dispatch and told an officer in his yamen to take it himself with all speed to the prefect of Jizhou, who must immediately have the bandits arrested, and report to him at once. After receipt of the order from Grand Secretary Liang at the northern capital, the prefect at Jizhou attended to the matter every day without succeeding in arresting the bandits, and was becoming very anxious. One day the doorkeeper reported that an officer from Prime Minister Kai at eastern capital had arrived with a very urgent dispatch, and was waiting outside the hall to see the prefect. The prefect was surprised at this, but thought that it must have something to do with the matter of the birthday presents also. He went into the hall, and when he met the officer he said, "I have already received an accusation against the bandits from the servants of the Grand Secretary Liang, and have sent men to arrest the bandits, but so far we have not been able to find any trace of them. I also received a personal dispatch from Liang instructing me to give the police and the inspector only a few days in which to arrest the brigands, and if they did not succeed in that time they were to be beaten. If we get only information as to the whereabouts of these brigands, I will go myself and report the matter to your master." "I am the intimate servant of the Prime Minister," said the officer. "He told me his intentions and sent me specially to see that all the bandits were arrested. Just before I left the eastern capital the Prime Minister spoke to me and said that he wanted me to stay in your yamen until this matter was settled. He wants you to arrest the 7 traders of dates, the wine seller, and also Yang Ji who disappeared. They must all be arrested within 10 days and be sent to the eastern capital. If you do not succeed in arresting the men within that time, I am afraid that he will banish you to Shaman Island. It will be very dangerous even for me to return and report a failure to the Prime Minister. If you doubt my word, then please peruse the dispatch from the Prime Minister which I have brought." The prefect read the dispatch and was much surprised. He at once summoned a number of police. Just then a man standing on the steps outside the door attracted attention by calling out "Noah," and the prefect turning to him said, "Who are you?" The man replied, "I am He Tao, police inspector in the 3rd police area." The prefect asked, "Are you the man in charge of the affairs regarding the stealing of the birthday presents at the Huangni Ridge?" He Tao replied, "Your Excellency, I had charge of the party that went to attend to that matter, and I have not had a wink of sleep since I started, and have kept the men under constant supervision. Although I beat the men with my stick continually, we have not found a single trace of the bandits so far. There has been no neglect on my part, and yet I can find no plan to settle the matter." The prefect spoke in a loud voice, "Nonsense. As the ancients said, you have not been sharp enough, and your men have been too slow. I passed my imperial examinations, and rose to my present position after many difficulties. Today an officer has arrived from the Prime Minister at the eastern capital with a dispatch which states that all the bandits must be arrested within 10 days and sent to the eastern capital. Should I fail to execute this order, I shall be dismissed from office and banished to Shaman Island. Although you are an inspector, yet apparently you are of no use and will bring a great calamity to me. I shall, however, first send you to a very distant military post, so far away that even the wild geese cannot fly there." He then summoned a man and told him to brand on the inspector's face the 3 characters, "Banished to Prefecture," leaving a blank space for the destination to be branded in afterwards. This done, the prefect said, "He Tao, if you do not arrest those bandits, I will never forgive you." He Tao, after hearing this, withdrew to his office, where he summoned a large number of policemen to have a secret discussion of this matter. He Tao said, "In your positions you get your wages whether you have anything to do or not, but although you have not arrested the bandits, you have not said anything about it. But you will surely have pity for me with these characters branded on my face." The men replied, "Sir, we are not as senseless as wood or grass, and we do know about your difficulty. We think that the bandits must have come from a remote and wild place in the hills in another district. When they seized the valuable presents, they must have returned to their mountain stronghold in good spirits, so how can we find them? Even if we know where they have gone to, we shall still be quite helpless." When He Tao heard them say this, his sorrow for himself was doubled. Without saying anything, he left the room, mounted a horse and started off for home. Upon arrival at home he led the horse to a trough at the back of the house and tied it up there. He was by himself and felt very melancholy. Upon entering the house his wife asked him, "Husband, how is it your face is like that?" "A few days ago," said he, "the prefect gave me an order to arrest some bandits who had stolen, at the Huangni Ridge, the valuable birthday presents that had been sent by Grand Secretary Liang to Prime Minister Kai. I took the order, but so far I have failed to arrest the bandits. Today I was going to ask for a renewal of the time limit for the arrest of those men, and I did not know that an officer had arrived from the eastern capital with an order that the bandits must be sent there without delay. The prefect asked me what news I had about the bandits, and I replied that I could get no news of them, and so far they had not been arrested. Thereupon the prefect gave orders, and had these 3 characters branded upon my face, leaving a space for the place of my banishment to be filled in later on. I did not know what my fate will be." His wife asked, "Well, and how will you put this matter right?" Just then his younger brother He Qing entered, and He Tao said to him, "What are you doing here? Why have you not gone gambling?" Madame He Tao signaled to He Qing with her hand and said to him, "Brother-in-law, just come into the kitchen, as I have something to say to you." They both then went into the kitchen where He Qing sat down. The woman spread on the table some meat, vegetables, and wine, warmed a cup of wine, and then asked He Qing to dine. He Qing said, "My elder brother was very insulting to me. I am his younger brother, although I am not very able." The woman said, "You do not understand, but your brother is exceedingly upset just now." "But my brother has a good income every day," said He Qing, "so where has the money gone to? I have not troubled him with visits, so why is he so upset today?" The woman said, "Some traders of dates at the Huangni Ridge stole the birthday presents sent by Grand Secretary Liang at the northern capital to Prime Minister Kai at the eastern capital. An order came from the eastern capital that if the bandits were not arrested within 10 days the officer should be branded and banished to a distant military post. Did you not notice the 3 characters branded on your elder brother's face? Sooner or later he would suffer more if those men were not arrested, and is therefore disinclined to drink with you. So I have prepared some food and wine for yourself. While he is in this melancholy mood you must excuse him." "I have heard at several places," said He Qing, "that some bandits captured the birthday presents. But where did it happen?" "I heard that it occurred at the Huangni Ridge." "But who could have done it?" The woman replied, "Brother, you are not yet drunk. I have already told you that the men who captured the valuables were 7 traders of dates." He Qing burst into a roar of laughter and said, "So that is it. But if he knows that there were date traders, why is he so melancholy? Why does he not send some clever men to arrest them?" "What you say is all right," said the woman, "but he cannot find out where they have gone to." He Qing laughed again and said, "Sister-in-law, you need not be anxious. But you know that my elder brother was always asking men to come and dine with him whom he called his younger brothers, but he never invited me, his real younger brother, to join them. If he had previously invited me to dine with him we could this day have discussed the matter of these bandits." "Brother-in-law, do you know where the bandits are?" "I might have some plan of saving him from it," said He Qing, "when my brother is in a critical position." He then got up with the idea of leaving the room, but his sister-in-law detained him to drink 2 more cups of wine. When she heard these statements made she thought they were somewhat strange, so she immediately went to her husband and told him what she had heard. Her husband told her to bring He Qing in, and when He Tao saw him he smiled and said to him, "Younger brother, if you know where the bandits have gone to, why do you not help me?" "I do not know that," said He Qing. "I only spoke to your wife in a joking manner. But how can I help you?" "Good brother," said He Tao, "do not look upon this matter with indifference. Just think of my goodness instead of my fault, and so save my life." "Elder brother," said He Qing, "have you not some very smart men among the 200 or 300 you employ, and why cannot they help you in this matter? I am only a single individual, so how can I help you?" "You need not talk about those men," said He Tao. I think that you know something of the haunts of the bandits, so I hope that you will not tell any other man about it, and so help him to capture the bandits. If you give me the information, I will see that you are duly rewarded. You will in this way also relieve my mind. Elder brother, said He Ching, I really do not know where they have gone to. You may pay no attention to me, said He Tao, but we are real brothers, and you must tell me what you know for the sake of our parents. Do not be in such a hurry, said He Ching. When matters are more urgent, I will try and help you to arrest those small bandits. Brother, said the woman, you should display your brotherly love by helping your elder brother. The Prime Minister has issued an order for the immediate arrest of all these men. It is a very big affair, and yet you speak of small bandits. Sister-in-law, said He Ching, you are aware how many times my elder brother has beaten and cursed me for gambling, so that I am afraid of him, and do not dare to dispute with him. Previously he had wine and food, and had a good time with other men, but now he realizes that his younger brother is of some use. He Tao saw that his brother knew something more, so he quickly took 10 taels of silver, and placed them on the table, and then told his brother to take them. If we capture the brigands, I myself will give you a reward of gold, silver, and silk. He Ching laughed and said, there is a saying, when there is urgent business we clasp the feet of Buddha, but when nothing happens we do not even burn incense. But if I now take the silver, it would seem that I have been trying to extort it from you. So take the money away, as I do not like you to bribe me. If you say anything else about giving me money, I will not say anything. As you both have spoken kindly, I will tell you about the bandits. The money is the reward offered by the yamen, said He Tao, so why should you not take it? Younger brother, do not refuse it. I ask you again, do you know where those bandits have gone to? Patting his leg, He Ching said, I have all those bandits in my pocket. He Tao was surprised and asked, younger brother, how can you talk about putting all those bandits in your pocket? That is my business, said He Ching. I have already got them all inside. Now take away that money, and do not try to bribe me again. I want us to be the best of friends. He then told them in detail all that he knew. At Yunqing County, heroes distribute wealth. At Liangshan Marsh assemble many veterans. We will now relate what was in He Ching's pocket.